We're going to get started right away because we have a lot of information to pass on to you this evening. But before we begin, I just want to welcome everybody here tonight. My name is Mike Murphy. I am the police chief of North Reading Police Department. And it's nice to see everybody here this evening to talk about this hidden addiction that's facing our community as well as both regionally and nationally. Just to let you know, I'm sure you guys all got a packet before you came in, and if you didn't, we certainly would get you one if you'd like. Logistics purposes, we have a lot of information to give you, as I said. If you have to use the restrooms, use your telephone. We understand how busy everybody is, so the speakers that are here this evening will not be offended by you getting up and walking out. So please feel free to do so. We are not going to take a break. We're going to try to go straight through. I'm hoping that we can finish up in 2 hours. We will not be taking an official question and answer period because I think that it's just going to prolong the night. However, in your packet, we did put a index card inside as well as a pencil. So if at any time during the presentation you have a question, you can fill the question out, put it in our question box outside, and we'll explain to you how we're going to answer the questions further in the presentation. And there is water available for anybody that needs it as well. But before we begin, I wanted to introduce North Reading Board of Selectmen Chairman and North Reading Community Impact Team member Bob Messeri for a few remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm part of the Community Impact Team. First of all, I'd like to welcome all of you here and thank you for attending to what is going to be a very informative session. I'd also like to acknowledge some of our guests here this evening. First, I'll introduce the entire Community Impact Team. Erica Hansen, our Youth Services Director. Okay, you can raise your hand. Kathleen Willis, Superintendent of Schools. Michael Murphy, our police chief, who has put this together. Sergeant Tom Romeo, who's a member of our community impact team. And Rita Mullen. Okay. Additionally, we have Representative Brad Jones here this evening. From Senator Tarr's office, he had commitments this evening, but he sent Mr. Barry Pratt. I think he's in the back. Members of my Board of Selectmen that are here this evening is Sean Delaney. And our newly elected Selectman Joe Fody. From the school department, we have John Bernard, principal of the high school. We have Anthony Laprie, assistant principal. We have Catherine O'Donnell, the principal of the middle school. We have Patrick Daly, Director of Academic Services. From the fire department, representing the fire department, we have Fire Chief Bill Warner. And we have Mr. Shep Spear from the North Reading Rotary.
Thank you, Mr. Messeri. I just want to give you a little background on the North Reading Community Impact Team, what it's about. For the past several months, this team was organized to address quality of life issues that challenge our community. Our mission is to use innovative, non-traditional methods to impact crime and the fear of crime. The concept involves direct cooperative interaction between the community and the police department to identify factors which support crime and implement solutions which focus on solving the underlying problems rather than just the symptoms. And the current substance abuse problem is one of those quality of life issues that we took as a priority to address. Our strategy is to implement proactive measures of community awareness, enforcement action, as well as treatment and resource referrals, in our effort to help reduce the overall social impacts of substance abuse. Before tonight's program, through our press release that we had asked that if you had any questions prior to our drug awareness seminar, that you submit them through emails, and we did get a bunch of them. However, the one that stood out to me the most was the question of why are you doing this drug seminar? We don't have a drug problem in North Reading. And that's why we're here tonight, though. We're here to make you aware. Not that this is just a drug problem in North Reading, but this is a local, regional, and national social problem. You know, they call it the hidden addiction. It certainly is. As you'll see tonight from the presenters, it seems like society wasn't ready for this. We believe that education awareness are the best preventive measures we can take. So tonight, to help you understand the signs and risks associated, we developed a program to get that point across to you. The seminar is intended to be a starting point for this community in an effort to combat the local drug problem. We're not here to lecture you. We're here to raise your awareness, share our experiences, and open lines of communication, to provide resources if necessary. This program is geared towards adults, and we did have that question as well, you know, when we bring our kids. We intend to do more in the near future to reach out to your kids as well. But tonight, it's to get the message out to you so you can better help your kids understand the dangers that they're going to be facing. And they are facing them out there. So certainly that's what our intent is tonight. Over the next few hours, you'll hear from several speakers from local law enforcement, the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, the Woburn, Massachusetts District Court Probation Department, medical drug treatment professional, local youth services, as well as families whose lives have been affected by opiate addiction. Topics will include a view of the local substance abuse problem and the particular risks our local youths are facing. And it'll show you a regional and national perspective of the drug epidemic to include the threat of prescription drug diversion, the role of the criminal courts and probation in fighting the regional drug problem, and the physical and psychological effects of opiate and synthetic opiate addiction on individuals. As I said again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to write them down, submit them to us afterwards. But the panel will be here after for any informal questions. We will be here as long as it takes to answer your personal questions. But if they're general questions, please try to utilize the cards. And at this point, I'm going to introduce our first speaker. I'm just going to give you an overview of the relevant history of the current drug epidemic. North Reading Police Detective Thomas Ignacio is a 13-year veteran of the North Reading Police Department. He's been assigned to our detective division since 2007. He's responsible for court prosecution duties, intelligence analysis and information sharing, crime scene processing, and narcotics investigations. As a detective, Tom works routinely with our local agencies to combat the negative effects of drug abuse. And he works through mutual aid efforts and information sharing initiatives. Please welcome Detective Tom Ignacio.
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here tonight for this important cause. Again, I'm just going to give a brief overview of our perspective from the police department, what we've seen over the past several years, the trends locally, and some information that will be a good jump-off point for parents and for our citizens to do further investigation on their own, either through the resources that we provide or our information and communication outreach programs that we have planned for the future. Again, I'm part of the detective division. I've been doing that for 4 years. I'd also like to thank Detective Hatch, who also assisted in putting this presentation together. Okay, excuse me. The CDC reports that 100 people die from drug overdoses every day in the United States. This graph right here shows an upward trend from 1990 to 2008. And it's very simple to see in that form the seriousness of the problem for drug overdoses in this country. Opiates are now the leading cause of accidental death for young adults in Massachusetts. Opiate-related deaths have now surpassed car crashes as the leading cause of death. How are these opiate-related deaths occurring? Drug overdoses and suicides. And how bad is the problem in Massachusetts? Between 2002 and 2007, there were 3,265 opiate-related deaths in the state. And to put that fact into further perspective, during the same time period, there were 78 American soldiers killed fighting in Iraq. And you can see the difference there as far as public awareness is. And not to ever belittle what our men and women who fight for this country do, but there is an awareness level of the severity of the problem. Massachusetts recorded over 23,000 hospitalizations in the year 2006 alone, which is a staggering number for emergency room visits. And this is, why we're here today, and it's to relate the problem locally and what it is that we're seeing as a law enforcement agency. And again, we want people to know that this is a problem that's here today. We often like to describe it, how we see it as a problem that lies just beneath the surface. A lot of people can't see it, and what we do in law enforcement, we're talking to these families every day. We're dealing with these addicts every day and the problems that they're creating not only for themselves and society, but for their family as well. Opiate abuse is not restricted by age, gender, social class, city lines. Okay, and a little bit about that is opiate addiction can happen on many levels to many different people. And, in law enforcement, we end up dealing with people who've had troubled lives, who maybe came from upbringings that weren't as good as they should have been. But when it comes to opiate abuse and opiate addiction and the crimes that are associated with that, we're seeing that across the entire span. It can be from the wealthiest family in town to the kid who's homeless. We're seeing it across the spectrum. It does not discriminate. What we know. According to the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, in the past 5 years, there have been 367 North Reading residents have enrolled for drug treatment, which opiates were listed as the primary drug for which they received that treatment. And again, from our circles and what we've learned, is this is a very important number. We consider opiate addiction basically an infectious disease. And I say that because it has a social overtone where these people who become carriers, who are unfortunate and become addicts, have interaction and they're exposed to all the different people in the community. So for instance, if you have one kid who's in high school, let's say he's a popular kid and he becomes an addict and he's abusing Percocet or another known opiate or drug, he has the ability to influence people around him. We see oftentimes that couples will end up suffering from addiction together. Boyfriends will infect their girlfriends and back and forth. So 367, if you consider it as a potentially infectious disease, is a huge number in this small community.